Yeah, everybody. My name is Charlie Pease. I'm one of the representatives of the group that's formed over the past week called Keep Our Parks and Rec, a community group in Cape Coral dedicated to preserving our parks and rec space, as well as the natural beauty of Cape Coral. We are deeply humbled by how many people are here in only a week. Imagine how strong we can grow if we need to. But we are incredibly grateful for you all to be here today. I'll talk about the structure of what we're going to do here. We are the ones organizing this meeting, but we do want to provide input after we do a short presentation. We'll give anybody a chance who wants to talk up to 3 minutes. We have committed to giving the developer, as well as potentially his representative, 3 to 5 minutes after we do our overview to speak first. I want to ask for decorum. We're in a church. Speaking of which, I'd like to start with a prayer. Pastor Philip, come on up.
Can I do that again? That was really fun. Hey, I'm Pastor Philip, one of the pastors here at the church. Glad you're with us. Going to have a great time tonight, I'm sure. And just a shameless plug, Easter's coming. We're here. It's going to be awesome. All right. Glad to have you all here. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you that we live in a country where we can communicate together. We can assemble freely. We can speak freely. Father, please help us to use wisdom and self-control to use those freedoms wisely for the betterment of our whole community. Thank you that community is about people and land and the stories that we all share. Please help us to remember that together. And I pray that we will all leave here a little wiser than we were before. Thank you. We love you. May this be done in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Once again, I want to say thank you to Community Outreach Pastor Chuck Whiteside, who helped us get this venue. I want to say thank you to Pastor Philip. I want to say thank you to the head pastor, David Acton, for allowing us to be here. This is true community outreach, true community organizing that we've done in only 1 week, okay? We have a position. We'll talk about that position. We also want to outline some information on what is actually happening here. We want to talk about process and all those things. But the last thing I want to say before I jump into the overview presentation, I'll talk about the agenda, and there will be an opportunity for public input, is I want to say that New Hope Church does not have a position here today. This is simply a community venue, and I want to, again, thank them for having us here. This is the agenda. First thing I want to do is talk about our community group that we formed in only 1 week and what our mission is. I've already mentioned that a little bit. Then we want to talk about land use in general, more broadly, in the city of Cape Coral. We'll talk about the future land use map 2050. And I also want to talk about the developer's initial proposal and potentially what may come forward as future proposals and what our position is on those proposals as a community organization, Keep Our Parks and Rec. I'll talk about some of the impacts, but I'm not going to talk about all the impacts. You guys can do that when we give public input time at the end. We'll give people about 3 minutes or so to provide input. I want to also talk about process, because there are a lot of people, even a reporter came to me today and said, hey, did you hear they withdrew it? I'm like, yeah, I knew they withdrew it last Wednesday, but they're bringing it back. So we want to be clear on what the process will look like and how we make sure that we get our voice out to the representatives. And the last thing is going to be community input time, where we'll have 45 minutes or so where anybody who wants to speak can speak. I was remiss here. I want to welcome some folks here. I want to say thank you so much to our representative for District 5. Representative Robert Welsh is in the front row right here. He has brought with him Mike Struve, who is with the Planning Division. He is a professional. He's objective on all things related to this, and he can answer any questions if we have questions related to specific land use. So, Mike, thank you for being here. I also want to say thank you to the developer, David Weinstein, in the back there, and his representative, Joe Mazurkowitz, for being here. That takes a lot of courage, and I'm sure they're uncomfortable at the moment. I told them earlier today, I said I respect them. I understand their interest, just like we understand the owner of the golf course's interest, right? But we're here for the community interest. We're here for the interest of the city of Cape Coral, the Hunters Run community, the greater Hunters Run community, and the entire city of Cape Coral when it comes to parks and recreation land use. So I want to start by talking about that. Well, actually, before I do that, I want to give one more shameless plug for our organization. If you're not on our website yet, www.keepourparksandrec.com. We have a very professional website. We'll do video updates once per week. We will also provide meeting information and any other information that you need related to our efforts. And our efforts will go on regardless of what happens here. We hope that this will end soon, but we will be involved in the community moving forward. We also formed a Facebook page only 2 days ago. It's a private Facebook page, and it's really hard to get people to join a private Facebook page when it has a cause. In less than 48 hours, and now I just looked at it before, we're over 300 by a wide margin here, I believe. In only 48 hours with our Facebook page, that is a private page that people have to accept to be a part of, where they get all the posts. So if you're interested in following our Facebook page, you can also go on Facebook yourself and you can search it. Keep Our Parks and Rec dash Cape Coral, Florida. Dash Cape Coral, comma, Florida. Take a picture if you need to. So people are already posting pictures of wildlife that's on the golf course. They're commenting. Please, please, please get involved with your community voice. So now I want to jump to land use. And this is a greater community-wide issue. And I'm going to zoom in here in a second. But this is the 2050 City of Cape Coral land use map. And I want to point out something that is incredible. This map reflects the City of Cape Coral future land use districts as of December 15th, 2022. The developer submitted their proposal for future land use change application in August. But we're telling the city that these little green areas, which there's already a dearth of, right? We were woefully lacking in Parks and Rec space. And just to orient you before I zoom in, Cape Coral Yacht Club is down here. This is south to north from the bottom to the top of Cape Coral. The Yacht Club is down here. Right here is the old golf club. Originally, the Cape Coral Country Club, later the Cape Coral Golf and Tennis Resort, and ultimately the golf club, which closed back in 2007. And the city has consistently taken a position for the past 17 years that they won't even rezone that from Parks and Rec to single family. That's 180 acres. So as you go north here on Santa Barbara Boulevard, right over here, this would be Santa Barbara right here. Our tract of land is right there, so I'm going to zoom in for a second. There it is. Everybody in here who bought or built or had hopes and dreams of raising their family, or has been there for 40 years, or has been there for a week. Bought there, built there, because we knew that this was Parks and Rec designation, land use, 2050. How can we trust our government? How can we trust our government if we can't trust this map right here? I'm going to go next to the actual plan. And yes, we have a position as our group, keep our Parks and Rec, the city of the Cape Coral Community Group. We have a position. I'm going to share that position, and so I'll walk through what I believe is factual information here. Before I do that, though, I have one more thing that's more global. In 2018, the voters in this city voted by a mandate for the GO bond, the General Obligation Bond for Parks and Recreation. $60 million over 15 years to improve and expand Parks and Recreation. And you see, I think they just broke ground or finished a couple days ago. I saw one on the news. How can you have the position that we're gonna follow the GO bond, but we're going to allow this 29-acre plot of land to be developed and have paradise be paved over with apartments that you'll see here in a second? I want to paint a picture before I show the overlay that many of you have seen. By the way, many of you saw that overlay that we created based on the documents that were submitted by the development team in the application last Monday. 2 days after we found out, we were able to get 100 people in somebody's front yard on the golf course. Okay? I want to paint a picture here. Some of you may not play golf. It doesn't matter here. But so first of all, they've committed to keeping the ponds. And they're going to add ponds. You know why? Because they need dry retention. But they've committed to keeping these beautiful ponds with wildlife and Mother Nature, right? But they're gonna build around them. So let me paint a picture here for you. First of all, these homes are right next to where the single point of entry will be, or is proposed to be, for all traffic in and out of this development. It's right over here. My laser pointer can't even hit it because it's a lot starting next door. Imagine 2 single-family lots where 3,000 two-way traffic cars in and out of neighborhoods are coming in and out throughout the day. But I'll get to that in a minute. I want to paint this picture so everybody knows what they're looking at. So first of all, if you don't know the golf course, this is the 9th tee box. This is the 9th green. It's probably 115-yard par 3. Over here is the 4th green. Over here is the 5th tee box. In the foreground there is the 5th green. And right here is the 8th green. Okay? I want to point you to this right here. Okay? I'm going to come back to this in a second. Right there. Imagine the single point of entry, cars coming in and out day and night. And this is the development. By the way, I told a crowd of 100 people last Monday that this was not their real plan. They were going to come back and say, we listened. We changed the setback up here from 25 feet to 100 feet. In fact, I said specifically to the crowd, and anybody who was there can confirm this, I pointed to a poster, and I said, I promise you, this is going to be a pond, and that's going to be a pond. And guess what? We already heard that that's what they're planning on doing. So I want to walk you through a few things here. First of all, how do you get in? There's a single point of entry right here through a residential neighborhood. The developers had to have a consulting firm or whoever they had project, just for the application, what the traffic would be through our neighborhood and your neighborhood and the neighborhood over there and whatever we consider a neighborhood. I used to live in Chicago, so neighborhoods are really big. So imagine for a second you got to get in and out right here. All the cars, all day long, all night. But how do you get there, first of all? Well, guess what? Even though they just, I hope they open it soon, Nicholas Parkway. But if you're heading east on Nicholas Parkway down here and winding around, there is no way to turn left in there. So people are going to have to navigate down through the back neighborhoods if they're coming from the east. Or if they're coming from the west on Santa Barbara Boulevard, they're going to go down Southeast 10th Terrace. And my little boy who's 5, who I have dreams of having grow up on that golf course, is not going to be able to play out in the front yard or ride his bike with his friends. Nor the backyard, for sure. No yard. So let's hold on for the comments, please. So again, cars coming in and out over here, cars coming down this road, cars all the way through the neighborhood, headlights throughout the night, the danger factor. But imagine that there's an emergency. Fire vehicles, and I promise you that they're going to come back if this continues, and they're going to say, you can't do this, right? But imagine them coming through. We're talking about, imagine your home, which is, 80 by 125 typically, right? We're talking about like 160 to 200 feet. I'm not sure if one's a triple lot and one's a double lot. I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? It's basically two of these right here all night long, all day long. So you come in, and now you're in. You've gone through the neighborhood. Hopefully there isn't a tragedy. But now you're in. And I want to show, again, this is absurd on its face. Right? I laughed at first and then I cried. So you come in, and you come over here, and these are access roads right here. So if you live over here in this apartment, you got to come in here, and then you go down let me orient myself. Here's an access road right there. You remember on the previous slide I showed you the two ponds? So you come in, and right there, you're winding around because you got to get home over there. That's coming in over here, winding around, and the access road is between these two ponds. So headlights all night. Literally thousands of cars per day with the original proposal. Going down here, winding around, buildings here, buildings over here, buildings everywhere. Parking lots everywhere. 650 apartments were proposed initially. That's like 1,200, 1,500 parking spaces. So I'm going to go back over here to the actual proposal, because again, this is beyond the pale. So now you live over here, right? So you come in and you go down the access road, and they're really tight because there's already parking spots here. In fact, there's 16 parking spots. We counted them right there on that property where if somebody does build, then they're going to have 16 parking spots. Like if this is my side of my house, I've got 16 parking spots lined up next to it. So then you come down here, and I want to do something for you before I wrap around here, because that's crazy. So in the original proposal, they had a 25 to 50-foot setback on these two buildings. We knew that wasn't their real plan, but I want to show you what that would look like, okay? If this is my back property line on hole number 2 or hole number 7, and this is my back property line. Remember, this is probably 2 stories at the most, right? Imagine 4 stories. 25 feet. For me, I'm a golfer, so I don't know. It's somewhere around maybe 8 paces, right? Sometime when we used to have to pace off before we had the rangefinder, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's your building. There it is. That's what they proposed. So, but they're not going to do that. They're going to bring it back. We pray to God they won't. But they're going to bring it back, and they're going to say, well, we heard you. Well, you could have heard us a year ago. Nobody in here, raise your hand if you knew this was happening until last Friday night, or even when I knocked on your door, or somebody knocked on your door on Sunday night. My next door neighbor is a realtor who bought 9 months ago. I knocked on their door this Saturday, a week after, and they still had no idea. So now you wrap around here and you come over here to hole number 3. These are all parking spaces. Every last one of those right there are parking spaces. So if you live on hole number 3 on Southeast 3rd Place, your backyard is just lined with parking spaces. Imagine the light pollution. Imagine just not having your piece of paradise anymore, or Parks and Recreation space. But the absurdity of this entire thing on this tract of land, and I want to be clear, and I think I told the developer this today. We agree that there is a need for multi-family housing in Cape Coral. We're over 200,000 now, we might grow to 400,000. But there are a lot of other places where this makes sense. So when you come around here now, over here, you live on hole number 8, and now you have this expansive view out here, and you have the sunrise over here in the morning. But now you're looking at these buildings. You're looking at a parking lot. By the way, that's a dumpster. There's a gentleman in here who built a house or has a beautiful home on number 6 Green, and that's a dumpster right there that he would be facing. 2018, the home was built. It's absurd on its face. And I want to be clear with one more thing. Our position as an organization and a community organization is that there is no compromise. Not 2 stories, not 1 story, no reduced footprint. So there are other things I could point out, but many of you have probably already seen this. Look, there's a linear park, and I heard they're going to, I heard today, they're going to expand the linear park by a little bit. It was going to be a 25-foot linear park. So instead, it would be this wide right here over that wall. Right on your back property line where people would walk their dogs all night long and all day long, right, if you live on the course. That was a benefit. Like, oh, we're fixing it for you. We're going to add we're going to make a better linear park around the property. So I'm going to go on here to another slide, but take a close look at this and make sure people truly understand what was proposed. And any version of this doesn't make any sense on this tract of land. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about recent developments. There's a lot of confusion. In fact, there was confusion in the news press yesterday because it said the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for April 5th at 9 a.m. was still going. When we met last week in the yard, we said, hey, show up at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on April 5th because that was the next thing at 9 a.m., right? Well, since then, they realized how important our voice is in the community, and they've heard us. And so we found out on Wednesday that they were going to withdraw it temporarily from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So what does that mean? That means it's not on the April 5th, 9 a.m. agenda. However, we're very confident, unless they hear us today and we can move on from this, because I certainly would like to move on. We're very confident that they plan to place it on a future P&Z or Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with a modified, reduced footprint. I heard today 8 buildings instead of 10. Whoa. So, some of us are going to go still on Wednesday, April 5th at 9 a.m. and talk. And you're welcome to come, and we certainly think it's important that they hear a preview if they need to. But we'll talk about what our next movement is here as a community group. Keep our Parks and Rec here shortly. What does the approval process look like? So if they submit a modified proposal, which we expect would be submitted the next month or two, then we would be noticed again, a 10-day notice. And I pray and hope that we won't be noticed in the dusk or literally almost in the darkness of the night. We were noticed with this sign. People didn't even receive letters until 4 days later. We were noticed on Friday night. I had a neighbor flag me down and say, hey, Charlie, have you seen that sign down there? And I said, no, I haven't. So I went up and I saw it. And it took me all night, Friday night, March 24th, to find it. Because it's not an easy Google search, right? Some of you have probably tried. I found it, and then I read it, and my jaw dropped, and I didn't sleep all night. 37 pages that I know has circulated to many folks throughout the entire city and community. But I want to talk about politics for a second and educate some people and make sure this doesn't happen again, because here's what actually happened, in my opinion, in our opinion. They put the sign up, and I can't read it from here, but it says, an amendment to the future land use map from Parks and Recreation to multifamily, da-da-da-da, right, which will be held at the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 5th at 9 a.m. As of last Monday, so I want to be clear about something. The Planning and Zoning Commission only makes a recommendation to council. Council makes the final vote at a regular council meeting. As of last Monday, at the end of the day, they had already put this on the April 19th agenda for the city council meeting. They were trying to ram this through before we could have a voice, because once it was done, once this was no longer Parks and Rec, then they could have reduced the footprint, but it would have been done. Politicians don't do something like this unless they feel like they have the votes lined up, period. They believed this was a done deal, because you don't have to put it on the city council agenda until you want to, okay? You do the P&Z, and you're supposed to hear people at the P&Z, and then you can maybe put it on a month later or 2 months later, or, some people do it 2 weeks later. But this one, as of last Monday, was already on the April 19th city council meeting for 4:30 for a regular council to take a vote on it. I want to say one more thing. Some people have said, hey, our petitions might not matter anymore. So we called. And we said, hey, is this going to be the same FLUM, Future Land Use Map Amendment Application Number? And they said, absolutely. If they bring it back, then anything that we do in terms of petitions, thousands and thousands of petitions and so on, will still be just fine using that FLUM number 22-000026. Okay? The last thing before we open it up here that I want to say is, where do we go next as a community group? Again, monitor keepourparksandrec.com. We'll post video updates, we'll post meetings and all that stuff. Be there and bring people who care about this issue. But while we have their attention, while the council people are calling me, while we have their attention, and we're going to continue to grow, even though it's not an agenda item, this Wednesday at the regular city council meeting at 4:30 p.m., we need to have everybody here there, and everybody else who cares that you know, family, friends, people who care about the Hunters Run or the former historical Cape Coral Executive Golf Course. We need to have everybody you know there who cares about wildlife, who cares about parks and recreation. Please, be there. Wear green if you have green. If you don't, no problem. But be there. Fill the chambers. There's the chambers right there. Every one of these seats is going to be full. And I've talked to some council folks, and I want to make a clear recommendation on behalf of our organization. We do not want 40 people to speak. We want hundreds of people to be in there, and we promise we will represent your interests. Unless you have something very unique to say, we will make sure that the speakers represent your interest with our group, Keep Our Parks and Rec. If you do have something specific, very specific you want to say, please email our email address, keepourparksandrec@yahoo.com, and we'll communicate back and forth. But it doesn't make sense at a school board meeting or at a council meeting to have 40 speakers who speak for 1 minute and say, the same thing over and over again, right? We need to give articulate arguments. We need to be clear on our position. We need to make sure, yes, there will be room for emotion. I've been emotional over this. I was in tears the other morning, on the phone with a councilman while I was watching the sunrise out back of my home while some furniture was being delivered to the home we're moving into. Because I realized that it was possible that might not be the sunrise anymore, and I might be looking at buildings. So please, please be there. You may have seen the flyer. It says this date clearly. Spread the word. Let people know that this is our reason for being there, because we're not going to be delayed. We're not going to go away. We're going to grow. We're going to continue to fight, right? Please make sure you educate people and they understand what's going on, because there's some stuff behind the scenes that it wasn't done correctly. Before I do that, I want to ask right now one more time, and I think it's pretty clear. But if you support our position and things that I just articulated with Keep Our Parks and Rec, Cape Coral Community Organization, please raise your hand right now and say aye. This is only a couple hundred people that we got to a church in a week. Could you imagine how many people we could get organized against this in a month? So the next thing I'm going to do, and then after community input, we'll wrap up. We have another microphone. We have a lovely woman over here. Stand up and turn the microphone on. This is my wife, Erica. Do you have a microphone? Okay. So she's going to go around, and we are going to limit this because we want to get out of here for dinner, hopefully by 7 or so. So please, if somebody says something that has already been articulated, yes, we can hear it again if it's something different, but please kind of pay attention to exactly what people are saying, because there are arguments that are very clear. I didn't articulate a lot of them. Cape Coral Friends of Wildlife is on our side. The Cape Coral Friends of Wildlife was instrumental for the past several years of making sure that the City Council did not rezone the Cape Coral Country Club property. So what we're going to do, and I did promise them, and I do, listen, please keep decorum no matter what. We are professionals. I hope that you all see that in our organization and what we've done in 1 week. We are professionals, and we want to give them a chance to articulate their position if they would like to take the platform. If they don't, then no problem. But the first speaker that I want to allow that option to tonight is our developer, or Joe Mazurkowitz, his representative, to take the microphone and speak on behalf of them for 3. I'm going to give him a few extra minutes. I'll give him 5 minutes if that's what he needs. But I'm going to hand the microphone over here. Erica, if you can give the mic to Mr. Mazurkowitz, and he'll go ahead and talk for a minute.
Thank you, Charlie. I am under no delusion that I'm going to change any minds in this room tonight. And I am not uncomfortable speaking to people of Cape Coral. I've been doing it for almost 45 years. Let me give you just a quick history of why I'm involved in this case. And I don't take exception to most of the stuff that Charlie said. A lot of the stuff he said is absolutely correct. There's some things that I disagree with. There was no backroom deal made. This did not get expedited. This has been in the planning process since before the hurricane. So it was, it came up like every other case that comes up. But let me give you some of my background. Friends of Wildlife had little to nothing to do with saving the Cape Coral Country Club. Save Our Recreation did. I was very honored to represent the neighbors against that project. And the reason why I did is 2 reasons. First of all, the previous proposals to do that was mixed use, which didn't carry any weight. The second proposal was single family, and the last thing we need in Cape Coral, I've been doing land use in Cape Coral since 1985. The last thing we need in Cape Coral is more single family homes. Well, you can disagree all you want, but that's the reality of being a state of community. We need some other residential offerings. So here is why I responded to the developer. I said, listen, I represented the neighbors against rezoning the country club. We, as a group, Save Our Recreation, offered the developer an opportunity for us to support their project if they would do some things. Do a linear park around the outside, have a 100-foot setback, enhance buffering around the outside, develop it through a PDP. We said now it's a PUD, a planned urban development, and do the, like I said, the enhanced buffer, linear park and a buffer. So this developer, when I was talking to him, I said, I cannot be two-faced. I live in Cape Coral. I grew up here. I cannot be on one side and on the other side. You are going to have to meet the same demands we made for the other development. He said, yes, he would. That's why the change was made, not whatever ideas you talked about. The second thing I like to talk about is this project will not survive as a golf course. That's clear. Golf courses are a thing of the past in Southwest Florida. I wish... All right, that's fine. That's fine. I don't own golf courses. I don't have an interest in this one. I don't have an interest if they even develop in the other one. But what I'm saying is that it's, in my opinion, Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. In my opinion, it's not going to remain as a golf course. So what are the alternatives? As I said, the last thing we need in Cape Coral is more single-family homes. The second most important thing is we have a shortage of multifamily. So multifamily is the highest and best use if it's not going to be a golf course. If you folks want to keep it a golf course, God bless you. You want to make it Parks and Rec. I understand that the owner approached the city about selling it to the city, and the city had no interest in it. So these are the only alternatives. My representation with the golf course, with the country club, was we were very successful. But I don't believe those neighbors are very happy with the outcome of those decisions. They're living on a former golf course that's going to seed, and they're not very happy about it. My concern and why I work with the developer is not to let that occurrence happen again. And that's why I did it. Simple. Whether you agree or disagree, it's your opinion, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, we all have opinions about what works for Cape Coral and what doesn't. Mine is based on the experience I've been doing this for a long time on both sides of the dais, both as an elected official and then as a consultant. That's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, sir. All right. We appreciate it. Okay. Before we go to the next person, I do have some quick input. The golf course business is booming. And that's factual. That is, the data shows that the golf course industry is strong. In fact, that particular golf course, just go out and take pictures of the parking lot in the morning. Imagine, and just run numbers, okay? I would happily run that golf course for the rest of my life and live a very comfortable life. Secondly, the idea that 4-story apartments in a concrete jungle with light pollution and all these things is better than Mother Nature in our backyard? Are you serious? Okay, we'll get to you, sir. Sir, we'll give you a chance. Our fight right now is not about what happens in the future. If the owner, and we respect the owner, if I were him, I would want to maximize my profit. If I were trying to retire, he's a good man. He did a great job of adding beautiful cart paths and has kept that course up great for the past 20 plus years. He's been the owner operator. Do you believe for a second that that course would still exist right now if he wasn't making good money? So that's another thing, but we'll fight that fight when we come to it. The fight right now is make it clear to City Council and make sure there's an 8-0 clearly articulated position that they will not accept anything other than Parks and Recreation land use. Because what happens next is it's Parks and Rec, and then we can talk about the other options. You know, the city has already indicated to me, several councilmen, that they can't use the GO bond to look at purchasing it. But there's going to be a different valuation as a golf course. First of all, we have to understand that as business people. So the owner is going to have to make some decisions. Maybe he keeps it in his family. He'll make those decisions. We'll let him make those decisions. We won't put 10 4-story apartments or 8 or 6 or however many back there before we get to the point where he can decide what he wants to do with his Parks and Rec land, okay? So we'll let that happen down the road, and maybe we'll purchase it as an equity group right here in the room. So I want to go ahead and go. If you want to raise your hand, please raise your hand. If you are interested in speaking next, raise your hand, please. Okay, while we're up front here, go ahead. And we're going to do a timer.
Let me just turn around. 3 minutes is going to go by very quickly for me. You all know that. So I have to say the most important thing first. I am so proud of all of you. Most of you in this room, 16 years ago in March 2007, we had the same voice, only now it's growing. And now we are in this to the end. I am 16 years older. You might not want to admit it, but you probably are too. But our efforts 16 years ago, we still have a golf course. And as we stand here now, we will continue in this city as a voice for keeping our green space, not only for us, but for all of our citizens, for keeping our parks and recs, because our city in December of 22 decided that where we were in that plan, we stay until 2050. But before 2050, when I'll be 100 years old, we will be a Parks and Rec in perpetuity. And if your little children don't understand what that word means, it means forever. Every day our voice is getting stronger. So in the last bit, I wanted to just add to all the facts that Charlie were giving, because we were going to be here tonight to present the facts and to present our position, so there is no doubt when we speak the name of our group what we stand for. This is the report, summary, and conclusion that was done by the Planning Division staff of the City of Cape Coral on this particular application. And I will read their conclusion. Given the analysis conducted in regard to the requested amendment to the future land use map, the proposed amendment seeking to change the future land use classification of a parcel from Parks and Recreation to multifamily is not consistent with the requirements for amending the future land use map, as well as guidelines and policies of the comprehensive plan, period. And the next sentence, listen carefully. The proposed future land use amendment would add needed multifamily development to the city. We agree. We would be stupid in not reading any news reports if we didn't think we needed more multifamily in here before the city was built out. Then the next sentence says, increasing the overall tax base and providing a more diverse housing stock and tenure. I'm sorry, I might have to back up. The amendment would add needed multifamily development to the city. We agree. What we do not agree on is that there are already existing zoned multifamily vacant property to develop. Our city does not need to take our parks and recs or our green space, not only for Hunter's Run, but we're in here for the long haul to my last breath. They all stay, and we expand as we grow, so we do not become a concrete city. The last paragraph from the city is this. However, the placement of the proposed multifamily land use would occur at a location that is not conducive to proper larger-scale multifamily development. The location is not a transitional area between higher and lower land use classifications and occurs in the midst of a low-density, single-family residential neighborhood. Additionally, the development lacks specific access to the larger roadways classifications that promote safe and effective travel to and from the site instead of utilizing a limited two-lane local roadway within the neighborhood. The additional traffic presents potential negative impacts with the residential neighborhood, which may be further compounded by the limited intersection at the arterial. We have no arterials to the golf course, which may direct more traffic through the neighborhood itself. Also, the larger densities of the multifamily district and the subsequent zoning districts, coupled with the larger allowable maximum heights, would lead to a development that is out of scale with the surrounding low-scale, low-height, single-family residential neighborhood. As a transitional classification, the larger scale would serve as a proper buffer, but nestled within the neighborhood, the larger scale is inappropriate and determined to be overall detrimental, absolutely, to the overall character of the neighborhood. Therefore, it is the recommendation of the staff that the proposed small-scale amendment to the future land use map be denied as submitted. Councilman Minnesota. I could talk some more, but I guess I'll take 3 minutes another time.
All right, so raise your hand. Erica's going to start walking to the back of the room. Raise your hand over here, and I'll hand my mic if somebody wants to speak next. So here you go. Okay. Oh, she's got to go to work. So then we'll come up here, okay?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cheryl Scolamero. Hi, Barb. I live at 307 Southeast 10 Terrace. My backyard is the 8th hole and the 9th tee off. I have the most beautiful view. I'm also the proud parent of 2 burrowing owls. I do want to share one thing that I think is very important. I am not a golfer, but I admire all of you who do. Right at this time in Port Charlotte, Charlotte counties, and Sarasota County, the Sable Terrace and Bobcat Trail courses in Northport, Port Charlotte Golf Course, and the Cove are all slated for development. I don't believe that everyone that comes to Southwest Florida sits at the beach. I believe there are people, grandparents, parents, grandchildren that take out a cart, that are golfing, watching the crows, the ducks. There's a crazy geese that lives on the golf course, the bunnies, the possum, and occasionally we see a rat. But they get caught. They're not there often. So I am speaking for myself. I'm not a golfer, but I enjoy watching all of you. Some of you are fantastic. Some of you need a lesson or two. But to take that away and to have 300 to 700 apartments, or even if it's 40 families that come in, I feel it's unjust. When you say to me that we need more multi-purpose homes, there is not a street I go down that they are not building, are they called duplexes? How many duplexes do we possibly need in this community? We are growing exponentially. I have only lived here 4 years. I'm from Massachusetts, if you haven't figured out my accent. But let me tell you, it's getting to be too crowded. I like looking at my sunrise over the golf club. I like looking when a rocket goes off in Cape Canaveral. Was totally blown away the first time. I'm like, what's that? And there's this orange plume going up in the sky. I'm going to lose all of that. And so are all of my neighbors who are just honest, happy people. We may golf. We may just sit in our pool. I don't want to have somebody build a 4-story building overlooking my pool. I already have an issue in a bathing suit. To Mr. Weinstein, I show no disrespect because money talks. And I'm going to stay professional. And there's a line that goes along with it, fill it up in your head. But keep the building elsewhere. You want to build some micro or macro buildings, do it in an open space. Leave well enough alone. And to the man that owns the golf course, who is out there 7 days a week, starting at 5 o'clock in the morning, that man works so hard, and his family. I respect him. It's time to retire. Take your money and enjoy it. But please don't sell it to a person that is not, once the money's made, he's gone. No more. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we have someone up here in the front, so I'm gonna hand her the microphone. Go ahead and stand up.
Hi, I won't speak for long. My name is Karen. If you saw the picture that Charlie put up, it's Colleen and Bill's home and then my home. So my home is right next to the single point of entry. That's me. I have more questions than I have trying to, stir up the crowd or get anything done like that. But one thing I do know is when something is said, even if it's not true, it becomes true. 24 million people in the United States play golf. I know that it's a popular sport because my house is peppered with golf balls every single day. 108 million people have a vested interest in the sport. We moved down here to this particular house because of the golf course, because of the neighborhood. The neighborhood, the infrastructure is not designed for something that they're thinking of putting in there. I moved from Maryland. We lived in a home that had large apartment buildings built next to it, and just the sheer impact on the neighborhood was tremendous. I invite everyone in here, if you haven't had a chance, to go out to Skyline, go out to Pine Island, look at what a 4-story apartment building looks like, and then imagine that outside your home. So that being said, my daughter and I, we own the home together. I have a granddaughter who's 2, who likes to run around in the front yard, run around the backyard. With this type of a proposal, no more running around the front yard, no more running around the backyard. And that's all I wanted to say.
Hi, my name is Joanne Posnick, and I'm not going to take 3 minutes. I do not live right over here. I live down off of 8th Street in Celebration Cape with 54 houses. And we have signed a petition to help all of you to keep the parks and the recreation. And I just want to say we are behind you 100%, and I am here to represent all of you today.
All right, we'll come back up here.
Good evening. My name is Bogdan Cernak. I'm one of the residents living in the course, and I bought my house in 2017. I moved from New York City, where I was really tired, and I live in Greenpoint, and probably Mr. Weinstein know where that is. And I bought my dream house. I worked my, hard to collect all the money, and I bought my house in 2017. And I could not be more proud than that. And let me tell you how I bought it. In 2015, I visited Cape Coral with my family, and we fell in love with the city. We just couldn't find the right house for us, unfortunately. And that time, the houses were pretty reasonably priced. And I went through maybe 50, 60 houses, and we didn't like any of them. One day, I was sitting at work, and my realtor called me, and he says, "Bogdan, I found your house." And I said, "Really?" "Yeah." And she described the house, told me about it, golf course, this and that. And I said, "Megan, the house is sold. I'm buying it." And that's the reason I bought the house. So every day I'm at my golf course watching the wildlife, watching people, collecting golf balls and everything, and I'm happy with this. So I have one thing to read. I'm going to back myself with whatever I found online, ladies and gentlemen. With respect to Mr. Mazurkiewicz's statements, once in 2017, he was interviewed by one of the news presses here in Cape Coral, and the question was asked, "Mr. Mazurkiewicz, what is your favorite place in Cape Coral?" And this is what Mr. Mazurkiewicz said. "Without a doubt, my house. I'm not kidding. I have a 40 by 40 deck with a tiki over the bar. It's my favorite place in this world. I see eagles, ospreys, and others that are in my backyard. Ladies and gentlemen, in my backyard, there will be a trash, dumpster, and plenty of parking lots. I refuse to live in that environment." Thank you.
Hi, my name's Patty, and I get very nervous public speaking, so excuse me. I live on Southeast 8th Street. If any of you have seen the bright orange Jeep driving around the neighborhood, that's me. I wanted to just bring to light another little point. If I'm understanding correctly, there will be one access in and out of there's 3, okay. From the first responder point of view, I was reading the Planning Division staff report, and it says that it's going to be served by Fire Station 2's district, and they're saying that it's expected to generate approximately 230 calls annually. I don't see any impact that it's going to make on an already strained EMS system. I don't know if any of you are familiar with how short-staffed the EMS system is and how strained we are right now. So this is, you're looking at adding 650 plus homes that EMS is now going to have to respond to. That's just a point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Up here, got a hand right here.
My name is Bill Simon. Been living in the Cape for 46 years. But the one thing I wanted to point out, when they talk about the traffic and the impact that traffic is going to have as proposed on the neighborhood, I think of the kids who walk, in the morning to their bus stop. And in the afternoon they walk, and then of course neighbors that walk up and down. When you have that kind of traffic in the neighborhood, in the dark, these kids are walking to the bus stop. How many of them are going to get injured with that kind of traffic flow? That hurts.
All right, we'll go back somewhere in the middle or the back there. Go ahead. You can give me the mic.
Good evening. My name is Edward Castillo. I grew up in the Hunters Run neighborhood on Southeast 3rd Place. And the reason my family, coming here as a teenager, moved to this area is to leave the urban lifestyle, the multifamily areas where it's more prone to crime, to be really honest. And this area was advertised as Cape Coral. It's just paradise. It's something that was advertised throughout the 90s when my parents bought the property on Hunters Run and developed it to what was my home for my teenage life and the reason why I stayed in Cape Coral. I'm an adult now. I'm almost 40. And I stayed in this area because of the lack of urban development. I love the single-family home entity. It's the reason why most of us from up north moved down here is to get a piece of Florida paradise. I do respect Mr. Mazurkowicz's opinions that he had, but he also is looking at this from a financial standpoint. So as a developer, there's something in it for everybody. And the only thing that hasn't been brought up to this is property values. So, if he's in it for development and his money in his pockets and the developer's pockets and, of course, the owner's pockets that currently owns that property, I'm going to touch on the subject of the property loss that everyone that lives in this area. So, when someone else's gain is a whole neighborhood's loss with this development. So that's what I'm going to touch on. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else said.
Thank you, David. There was somebody right next to you over there. We'll give the mic back there, and then we'll bounce back up to the front somewhere. I thought someone there. Anybody in the middle there, Erica? Yep, whoever. Let's spread it around the room.
Good evening. Thank you for having this meeting. I'm Richard Vega. I'm on the corner of 2nd and 10th. I built my house here for my kids. They were here when they were 7 and 6. Mr. Charlie, who lives across the street from me, he watched my house be built. He told me exactly everything that was happening every time I drove past my house. We moved to this neighborhood because when me and my wife drove through, it was Halloween night. I had to stop because of all the kids, all the families. And there is one group, I don't know who you are, but I love when you come through my neighborhood with your pickup truck with the guys and the women in the freaking trailer, and you're having a blast as the kids follow you. I thank you because my kids love when you come through the neighborhood. Also, Mr. Merkowitz, you're seeing there's no developments. You drive up and down Skyline, there's apartment complexes left and right. You drive over by Pine Island, they just finished that development behind the Fox News station. When you go up Chiquita by the Ida Baker High School, they just finished 10 buildings, 6-story tall. You drive up and down Skyline behind the Home Depot, they're building over there as well. So you can't say that as a defense that there's no development being done. There's brand new development that is about to be done right behind the Walmart on Pine Island, across the street from the fire department. So I do stand, and I appreciate this meeting here. but please take in consideration that we moved here for the beauty and for the wildlife that Parks and Recreation is here to support.
Thank you. We'll bring the mic back up here, but I wanna piggyback off of something he said, an anecdotal story with my 5-year-old. So we were building our house this past year, well, for more than a year, because everybody knows how the construction industry is going. And we said, hey, you know what, let's not go to the Pelican neighborhood this year. Let's go over, we've heard Hunters Run, is a nice neighborhood to do Halloween. And so we got our wagon loaded up. We got my son, who's 5, and his cousin, who's 7 months older than him. They're best friends. And we went and we parked at the golf course parking lot. And it was one of the most awesome Halloweens. That we've ever had, because we went around the neighborhood and we did the full loop, and it was perfect. And I said to my wife, I said, when our house is done, we're going to do this every year, and we can go around in the golf cart or whatever, people do. And now, that might not happen. So go ahead, Eric, and give somebody else the mic, please.
Good evening. My name is Barbara D'Souza. This is my husband, Manuel. We live at 931 Southeast First Place, 7th hole of the golf course. You saw it up there. I'm going to have a walking path. I'm going to have a parking lot. And I get a big 4-story building behind my house. We own 2 housing lots. Yes, so when I'm in my pool, I'll have lots of people staring at me. The problem with green space is once you take it away and you put up buildings, it's gone. You can't get it back. Quite frankly, I'm not a golfer. My son is a golfer. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn door with a golf club. But anyway, green space is really important. We only have 25% in our city that's designated green space. My housing value is going to go down. Who wants to buy a house with this great big monstrosity behind it? The golf course now, at the best of times, floods. What's it going to do with all these other buildings that are on there? Not to pick on the people at Celebration Cape Coral, but at one time that was all pine trees. And we hardly had any flooding because we had that. The same on the other side of Southeast First Place facing Santa Barbara. They were all a forest of pine trees, and our flooding was less. The more they build, the more flooding we have. And that's unacceptable. When you're going to build a big development, it's not going to help. I have a beautiful backyard. I get to see the sunrise every morning. I get to follow the pattern of the seasons. When we first moved there, we didn't have any animals. No animals, no birds. I thought, this is really strange. And over the years, we have all kinds of birds. We have all kinds of animals now, including reptile types like iguanas. We have a male and female that just like our lawn. The iguanas, yeah. And there was a fat rat, but somebody finally got rid of that one. But it's important that we look at our city history. My grandparents brought property here from Gulf America Corporation way back when. And they remember the Country Club Golf Course, and they remember mine. They're no longer here. They can't fight for me now. But we have to fight to keep our green spaces. I'm sure the developer wouldn't want what they're proposing to put in my backyard. Nor do I think former Mayor Joe, who I voted for at one time, want that in his backyard. Please keep our green space.
Thank you. People who know me know that I'm a math guy and I'm a data person. She said it right, but I want to clarify something she said, and our research is ongoing here. She mentioned the number 25%. based on comprehensive plan need that the Department of Economic Opportunity and all the folks who do the data, there's a calculation that says that per 100,000 residents, you should have a certain percentage of green space, parks, and recreation. I showed this map earlier. Okay, there's a green, thank God it's still there. And one day, I hope that we make it a regional park. We bring back waltzing waters and all kinds of other things for our community. But look at the dearth of green on this map. Our research is ongoing, like I said here, but we believe that we're only as a city meeting approximately 25% of the expected parks and recreation space for a city of our population. So I want to clarify the 25% number. We are only meeting approximately 25% of where we should be already. And now we're talking about taking this away. All right, I'll come up here. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Duckett. I live approximately 3/4 of a mile from the golf course. I'm a big walker in my community. I'm also a local entrepreneur and a single mom of a 6-year-old little boy who loves adventuring out on his bike. His best friend just happens to live on the Hunters Run golf course. Now, he's not quite old enough to do it now, but I grew up riding my bike to my best friend's house, and I dreamed of that one day when I bought my house on 613 Southeast First Place 10 years ago, because it was a small, local, quiet community. My child currently plays out in the front yard of my house with the other local neighborhood kids, and we do our best as a neighborhood to protect our streets. I walk around Hunters Golf Club every day, sometimes twice a day. It breaks my heart because it's going to turn the community in that area upside down. It's a beautiful area to be around. It's quiet, it's safe, everybody is friendly, and I also have taken my son trick-or-treating there, and it is a great time. So I hate to see something like this happen. I love to see my child outside enjoying the outdoors. I'm a golfer, not a very good one, but it's something that my son wants to do, so it's something we plan to do, and having Hunters Run right down the street would make it a great opportunity to continue to support the course. Thank you.
Yeah, this is an extension of the house value. I have one question, and is this going to be Section 8 housing? Could you answer that, please? Pardon me? Okay. And just a yes or no answer. Would you want a 4-story building behind your house? Yes or no? The developer. Are you able to answer that question for the crowd? And you, sir? So can we put a 4-story apartment building behind your house? No, let's tear it down and put a 4-story building behind your house.
Thank you. We have a special speaker.
I want to. Can you turn my mic up, please? Give me just a second, young lady. Give me just. Hang on, Erica. Hang on. I want to be clear. This isn't personal. Like, let's not make it personal, right? Everybody has their own interest here. Please, it is personal for me. You all know that. But in this setting right now, to accomplish our goal, let's use logical arguments. We can use some emotional arguments, but please just toe that line as carefully as you can, okay? All right, there's a little girl back there. She looks like she's about 9. Yeah. And hold the mic up to all the way up to your mouth. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I hope you all are having a good afternoon. And my name is Samantha, and I am actually going to get a parking lot in my backyard. So I go to swing sometimes, and usually I go when it's from the afternoon and I can see the sun setting, and sometimes it reminds me of a picture, like a painting. But if there's going to be buildings and I'm gonna have a parking lot, I can't see the beautiful sunset while I'm swinging. Instead, I'm gonna see a shadow. So and also there's a lot of animals that pass on the golf course. Some of them live there. There's an owl there. It lives there. And I found the burrow, and there's a lot of crows the other day. And I had to scare the crows off because for some reason they're just hovering around the poor owl's burrow. So yeah, so I found the owl. Yeah. So it's somewhere around if I walk, there's this little sand area, and I thought there's 2 holes in the grass, and at first, for a little bit of time, I actually thought the burrow might be there until I actually took a good look at it, and I'm like, well, this isn't deep enough, and yeah, there's no way this owl can actually fit here. Until I saw, when I went here yesterday, I found the burrow. It was in the sand. Now, I actually never seen this burrow there before, but I found it there. So that's where it lived, and I think there's eggs, but problem is, if they're going to have a parking lot there and buildings, then they're just going to fill it up with cement or something. And I mean, probably they're going to try to relocate the owl. I get that. But if they relocate it, then the eggs might stay behind or something might happen to the eggs.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say, so with respect for time, we're going to take maybe 4 or 5 more comments if people can try to limit it down to a minute or 2. We do have a timer. You're hearing it go off over here, and we're trying not to cut people off, but we'll take, out of respect to people's time. So, sir, I know she just handed you the microphone. I'll come over here to you next.
My name is Bob Molnar. Everybody knows Molnar. I'm a retired firefighter from the state of Illinois. We moved down here, and our house is the last one come up, 4th place before you come into their parking lot. We live right there. Yeah. The only thing I can say is, if they got away with this, there'd be none of the people in the mornings like me that go walking all the way around the park and different places, walking, no problems. Kids walking, people walking with their baby carriages, with little babies out there. They put that thing in there, that'll become a racetrack. How long do you think they would be able to walk out there like that? People with their babies. Not ever again, because you'd have them knocked off left and right. Have wrecks probably every single day out there. People coming flying in and flying out. So all I can say is, folks, we've been down here now in our house, like it is right down here, for 20 years, my wife and I, and it's unbelievable. Quiet, sleep good nights, stuff like that. We come out of a place in Illinois outside of Chicago. That was close enough. For those who talk about big buildings and things like that, we had them in our own city. which that's why you're growing up, you don't know any better. But once you get into a nice, quiet place like this here, good people, all the folks are excellent people. We don't need anything like that. We got to stick together. We got to stop this.
And we will. Our position is that there's no compromise. The position of our community organization, if you're joining forces with us, is that there is no compromise. Parks and Rec in perpetuity, forever.
My name is Michelle Mold, and you've seen me at the council meetings, but I'm Cape Coral Friend of Wildlife. And Colleen reached out to us 2 weeks ago.
When the sign went up on Friday night, the first people I called was Saturday morning.
And it went around the group, and I said, okay, I'll deal with this. And Colleen and I started talking and texting and emailing, and a couple of things for you. You guys have 3 owl burrows, not 1, but 3. So that's 3 pairs. One was GPS before I arrived. We found the other 2. You also have a lot of other animals, birds, and I'm going to read the part about Parks and Rec. This was a consulting firm called Barth and Associates that helped the city of Cape Coral when they did the Go Bond. And the finding was that Cape has 4.7 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents, when 12 acres would be preferable, a benchmark set by the National Recreation and Park Association. The city notes on its website that parks encourage healthy lifestyles, a sense of community, and an opportunity to get close to nature, and might even reduce the incidence of chronic disease. And for those of you like me who are cyclists, walkers, we keep young.
Thank you. We're going to take maybe 3 more comments here. I see a hand over here, and they got somebody in the back that already has a microphone. So
yeah, Warren Wilgus, 144 Southeast 9th. I'm sorry, I'm moving already. I had my realtor over my house the other day. He's a friend of mine. I'm not selling, but he told me if they put single family houses back there, the value of my house will decrease by $70,000. If they put multiple unit houses back there, it'll be $100,000. One, that's only just a guesstimate he's making right now. But with the flooding, they're going to put all these retention basins in there. They're going to fill. I mean, behind your house, Charlie, when there's a big storm, that basin fills up very easy. So they're going to fill all over. Are we going to go into a flood zone? And now it's going to start costing people thousands of dollars for flood insurance. So I come from New Jersey. I was a police chief up in New Jersey. We had a smaller town, but we had 20% apartments in our town. Out of the 20% apartments, 45% of the crime came from them. Just so you know. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Al Camp. I live on 3rd Place, right on hole number 3. 2 short points. Number 1, there's not enough affordable golf in the Cape, and Hunter's Run is one of them. Number 2, I have to ask the question, are you going to hire a lawyer? Yes, and I think you can get enough contribution.
it's not going to get to that point. We don't need a lawyer. Listen, what we need is common sense. What we need is, first of all, this isn't up to the developers or and again, I respect them. I talked to Mr. Weinstein, I introduced myself for the first time, and Mr. Mazurkowitz, and I said, listen, you're not going to like some of the things that I say tonight, but I respect you and I respect your position, right? And they were very polite, and I will be polite with them. But the decision here rests with our representatives. It rests with city council, period, right? So if our representatives, Representative Robert Welsh for District 5, which is everything north of Southeast 10th Terrace, and Tom Hayden, for example, which is south of Southeast 10th Terrace, literally the people on the opposite side of the street from me are a different district, right? If our representatives represent us and hear us, then this is a done deal. Because it doesn't matter down the road. We just have to get a clear message from our councilmen, and all 8 of them. And I will tell you this, the mayor has already told me he's on our side. If we can get them to just say 8-0, maybe they can do it in public, or maybe they can do it during their comments on Wednesday. This Wednesday, when everybody shows up again. And please, by all means, show up again. We need to be there because they're the ones that make the decision. We need them to say there is no way, just like they've said for the golf club property. This gentleman came in late and he said, what about the property down there? We talked about that plenty. This property down here, they have committed. They're on the record. Look at the Breeze question of the week for 2022 and the 2020 elections. Almost, I think all of them are on the record as saying, I'm committed to keeping that and developing it as a regional park, right? So all we have to do is convince them. We don't have to convince them. This could be done Wednesday, guys. That doesn't mean that they won't bring a modification. I hope they won't. I hope they've heard us tonight and they realize that this is going to be a protracted battle. But I don't want it to be, and I pray in this sanctuary that it's not. Our council people, our representatives will make this decision, not the developers. Keep our Parks and Rec in perpetuity forever.
I think facts matter. And you know that since last Friday, 10 days now, we have been up, even pulling all-nighters, trying to get all of the information and the research that we can. All of the people that call me and refer me and send me information, we can't read it all at once. But facts, I think, are very important, and I hope we have portrayed to you in our presentation that we are here to disseminate the facts, and the facts will stand for themselves. And I did have something else to say, but now Charlie interrupted my thinking.
I do that a lot. By the way, this lady will be family with me for the rest of my life. I've spent more hours with her by far, unfortunately, in the past week than I have with my family and my 5-year-old because of this. But I want to say thank you to Colleen for her efforts.
I want to say thank you to that developer back there.
And I'm gonna. It looks like. Do you have something to say, sir? Okay. We are gonna be respectful of time. I just asked Councilman Robert Welsh, District 5, if he has a comment, and then I'm gonna close. So he did say he would like to say a word, so I'm gonna give him the floor.
To hear also. When we say we are here till the end and we want Parks and Rec in perpetuity, we also will use our energy, our support, our voice to help to bring that about. We don't know what the end road answer will be. Like Charlie said, he is a mathematician. He's very good with math, and he believes that golf course is a gold mine. So, you know, like other golf course communities have purchased their golf course together. We don't know what the future holds for that. We only know right now that we are going to stand for it to be Parks and Rec in perpetuity, and we will do everything it takes to have it be that, including helping you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for showing up. As you all know, my name is Robert Welsh. I am your district council member for District 5. I want to thank Charlie for putting this on. I only found out about most of this maybe a week or a week and a half ago. And to me, it was a big shock. As we know, there's a lot of development going on in the city. There's a lot of different apartment complexes going up. I'm not the best speaker. looking at everything, I wanted to hear from all of you tonight. As your representative, I wanted to hear what your thoughts were, what everything was. I wanted to speak with the developer. I also wanted to help you best represent your voice through City Council, which is through me. So what I did is I asked Development Services to see if they could send someone. I do have Mike Struve here. He's with Development Services. If anyone has any questions about what a PUD is or what zoning changes are, he's going to be here to answer your questions. He is completely neutral on everything. His vote, he doesn't have a vote. He's just here to answer any sort of questions about the process of what it is. I wanted to bring someone who knows it and lives it more so than I do. I'm a resident just like you guys. I grew up playing on Hunter's Run. I live not too far from here. I live off of Nicholas, down closer to Pine Island Road. So after reviewing everything and seeing how the community has come out against this, I tend to agree with you guys right now that I don't think that changing our parkland into more multifamily is the proper use for this land. As you know, I also brought back a Parks and Rec Advisory Board as one of the first things I did when I became a council member to oversee the $60 million GO bond that we all voted for. I've been a proponent of our parks and trying to save our parks and recreation space. So it would be against everything that I've gone through to say, let's go ahead and put apartments up in this area. With that being said, I am only one of 8 votes. So I do want to encourage you to please continue to email me and other council members. I'm putting together a whole pile. I've got all your emails. So if I haven't responded to you, it's because I've been out of town. And I'm going to probably put a blanket email back for everyone to get the same email. But everyone in this room can know. You'll get that email back. I'm keeping it all. If you didn't submit it, it's going to be submitted, so it goes in the public record. But like I said, I'm one of 8, so please continue to email City Council with your opinions. Please continue to email the mayor, email the other council members. Tom Hayden is, he shares the district with me, but this district is close to my heart. I've lived in this community for the entire 38 years I've lived in Cape Coral. So I've got your back, I've got your support. But please, like Charlie said, when you come, let's keep decorum. Because having 100 people say the same thing that I've sat and listened to you guys say today, it does get a little bit tiresome in council. We are there. It is what it is. But you guys are together strong, and you've come together pretty quickly. With only being a week or week and a half to get all these emails, I'm impressed. And I'm proud to be your representative for the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Welsh. Him and I have talked, and again, decorum and respect. We appreciate what he's doing for our community. He's getting hit from all different directions. He has to represent our greater community. But I'm going to hold you accountable, and we're going to hold you accountable, because what I heard, was that you think you're with us right now. Our position will not change. It is Parks and Rec in perpetuity. If they come back with townhomes, with some more green space, it doesn't matter. And so we want to be clear. Everyone you talk to, everyone in here, if you're part of our community group, and this is a greater Cape Coral group, if you're part of this group right here, keep our Parks and Rec, then the position is we will not compromise on this issue. I want to remind everyone one more time, you can follow us here on Facebook. You can go to Keep Our Parks and Rec Cape Coral, Florida. Okay. You can also go to this website and scroll to the bottom, and it says exactly how to find the Facebook page. Or you can have a friend who's already in it invite you directly. Just click the invite button and add your name in there. We want to grow that to thousands. It's more than just the greater Hunter's Run or historical Cape Coral Executive Golf Course community. This is a city-wide issue, and we're going to keep you guys accountable. And our hope is that the council voice will be clear so that we don't have to do this over again and again and again. But we will if we have to, and it'll be bigger, and we'll get a bigger venue. So I want to be clear that if we have to fight this, and it's a protracted fight, then we're not going anywhere. We love our community. We care about parks and recreational space. And we're in this together, and we are invested in it together, and we will not stop. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate it. Please sign the petitions on your way out. Make sure you've signed a petition if you have not signed a petition. Have a wonderful night, and we'll be in touch soon.